inside your bedroom. We stopped counting the days.
Well, hello all. This is Kat, and this is Black Girl Love, the podcast. Welcome back to another episode of Black Girl Love, the podcast. This is our 4th episode, and that's a good thing. It's coming along, I'm trying to, not perfect it, just improve it each episode. So hopefully, if you are here with me, you are noticing some slight improvements, and there's always some things that I can change and make better. And, and a year from now, when you listen back to this podcast, and when I listen back, we'll be like, girl, that was rough. And that's okay, because life is all about living and loving and being a black girl, right? So in this week's podcast, because this is, again, episode 4. Can you believe we're 4 in? Wow. I think it's number 4. Yeah. Black. We always break everything down into 3 different topics, and we discuss it within those parameters, and black being the first word in the title of the podcast. So that's what we're going to talk about, something black oriented, because I am black. So this week I am, I'm starting to pack up because I'm going to be traveling this summer. I got a group trip, and we're going to South Africa starting in June, right? And that's beautiful. We're going to go to Cape Town. We're going to do a safari. We're going to live it up. Everybody's excited. It's like 16 of us. So it's a good sized group. And I'm really happy. I'm excited. I'm ecstatic, right? And so we're going to be in that environment for, I think, 8 or 9 days. It's going to be great. In Africa or Cape Town is such a long flight. I think it's nonstop. With Delta or United, it's like 14, 15 hours. And I'm excited about that too. A lot of people don't like nonstop flights. A lot of people don't like long flights. I am a proponent of both. I get in my seat, I sit down, I be quiet, I read, I eat, I sleep, I watch TV. The same thing I would be doing on my couch at home with bathroom breaks. I mean, realistically, there is no difference. You're in a plane, you're stuck, but that's okay. I'm okay with that. So anyway, after we get through with the trip, everybody's going to go and do their own thing. They're coming back to the U.S. Some people are extending their travel, and I am one of those people. I will be extending my travel. And being black and being a girl, I've been trying to figure out where I want to go, because I want to travel for like 2 months in the summer. Basically June, July, and into August, I'll be heading back to wherever I'm going next. But anyway, I am having the hardest time finding places that I feel I will be comfortable in for a week or 2, maybe 3, if I really like that city, that country. I keep pulling up this place. I'm like, oh, that looks good. And when I say it looks good, I'm looking at my dollars, because, traveling for 2 months is not cheap. And I am trying to be cheap, but not safety cheap. Just, where can I go where my dollar will stretch further for me, since I will be basically walking around, looking at things, eating, and sleeping. You know what I'm saying? Doing touristy stuff. And touristy stuff costs money. So I'm just trying to get the biggest bang for my buck. The problem that I'm finding is that racism is rearing its ugly head, y'all. And racism costs money. It really, truly does, because it limits where you can go, right? You almost feel like you have to go somewhere where it's progressive, so that you will see possibly others, or you feel like you have a cushion, a security cushion of it being a major city in a major country, that there won't be any outward or overt racism, right? Your safety, you'll be fine. And it's not just being black, it's also being a woman. And I'm just having a hard time. Every place I look at, I'm like, okay, that looks good on pictures, it looks good on video when I go to YouTube, and then, I'm always on reading articles, and, one of the search queries that I use is, what is racism like in this country for black people, black women? In a lot of countries, black women are considered or looked at as prostitutes, depending on the country, but definitely in Europe that does happen. And so I don't want to be mistaken for that. I don't know what the body type is, or if there is a particular body type or look outside of being a black woman, right? So I can't dress for it. And that also brings up considerations. Where can you go where my American style of dress is not going to offend anyone, right? Even though I do typically cover, because I tend to travel to a lot of places where it's hot, and so you cover more skin because you don't want to have your skin exposed at 120 degrees or something like that. That will burn you if you didn't realize that. And black people do burn. That's another pro tip for you. So anyway, I've been looking at places, and I'm on TikTok, I'm on IG. You do a search, and you're like, let's go here, let's go there. And I mean, like, really, the problems I'm encountering are sort of surprising. And I think it's maybe because it's Europe. And if you didn't know, Europe is like the birthplace of racism. It truly is. And you can dispute that. We can fight about it. It's not a problem. I'm more than happy to educate you if you want to go toe to toe. It's not a problem. And remember, I said that when your feelings are hurt. But yeah, so and to make sure that you don't think that I'm just blowing smoke out my ass. Here's some examples of people telling their stories about racism in different countries.
Airport because I had to flee Italy a week early. I was facing constant harassment from the second I got off the plane. It was so in your face that my white friends sent me home for my own safety and are beating themselves up about accidentally sending me to a fascist hellscape. And since my last video before I got to the airport, this guy was explaining something to me and my friends, and then he suddenly stopped, stared at me, and said, "Wait, do you speak English?" Why would I be the only person in my group of American friends who does not speak English? I've been stopped in stores, yelled at in public several times, almost run over. Sorry, Rome, but I have to roast you real quick. You're Italian and you're not racist, you can exit out of this video. I'm not talking about you. I understand that people are upset that I previously referred to Rome as a shithole. I would just like to double down on that statement and say that if Rome has one hater, it's me, and if Rome has 0 haters, I am dead. Pretty sure these people literally have beef with Jesus Christ himself. Y'all literally invented fascism and democratically elected a Mussolini-like to run your country. You guys have literally evolved past needing a dictatorship for fascism. Honestly, I'm pretty sure you guys are just mad that you are the most Arab-looking Europeans on the continent. Hey, cousin. Y'all are literally one missed sunscreen application from looking like my brown ass, and you lose sleep over it. Most importantly, you're still upset that you got an F- on your attempted invasion of Ethiopia. You can't even colonize properly, so you have to settle for treating people of color who visit your country to spend money like shit while your economy is on fucking life support. Get your money up. Also, your pizza sucks dick. America does it better.
All right, and that was a creator on TikTok that I follow, mainly because she lives in Turkey, and I do plan on going to Turkey. That's Artemis. Feel free to follow her on TikTok. She's great. She tells great stories about her lived experience in Turkey currently, and it's very enlightening. I love it. But that was her experience in Rome, and everything that I'm reading backs that up. Everything that I'm seeing. I mean, there's TikToks that just say Rome is racist, and it's not just Rome. It's other parts of Europe. Let's be honest. I want to go to England, birthplace. Spain, birthplace. Let's be honest. You can be brown, but that don't mean you're down. You feel me? So then, if that doesn't beat all, I was on IG this morning. I mean, this is how this stuff is. I was on Jessica, and I don't want to butcher her last name because I could, and that would be really, really wrong. But I was on Jessica Bongo, I think that's how you pronounce her last name. She's one of the few people in the world who visited every country. And there was a collab post between her and Black Enterprise magazine, and they were talking about her travels, basically, in celebration of Happy Women's History Month and stuff like that. So anyway, the number of people in the comments, y'all, who were disputing this woman's lived experience simply because she's black. And there's just no other way you can look at it. They were like, well, has she been to Syria? Do you honestly think that this woman's travels have not been vetted? She has a whole book about it. And as she was doing the travels, she was posting about it. So you could follow her and see the country. Someone said, did she go to North Korea? I saw the post from North Korea. I saw the post from Syria. And they just kept going, well, it's not really racism, because her post said, America was one of the most racist places she's ever been in. And they were disputing that. It's laughable. Because racism is different in each country that you go to. You know, it's just gonna be different because the people are different. The history is different. America was founded on racism. You know, it was founded on slavery. And if it wasn't founded on slavery, it was also founded on decimation of populations, right? Native people, indigenous people. And they're not the only country, let's be honest. We're just the youngest and the newest who've done it. And they did it well, right? Because we're still suffering from slavery and Jim Crow and things like that. I mean, one of the last podcasts I did, we talked about Martin Luther King. And his I Have a Dream speech was only 60 years ago. And we have to look at everything that's changed and everything that's changing now. Whew, all that to say, black and travel. It's interesting. I don't have a solution, y'all. I'm just documenting, if you will. And I will be documenting my travels through Europe this summer. So definitely follow me here on the podcast. I'll be talking about it weekly on the podcast wherever I'm at. And I'll be talking about my experiences. And I'll also be doing it on YouTube. So you'll see full-blown videos there. And on my website will be up shortly. But in the meantime, you can always go to anandrawilliams.com and see things there. And if you didn't know, I'm currently in Mexico. In Merida, which is a great city for those who are looking to possibly relocate. And we'll get into that in a different podcast and blog, because I've written about it several times too. But anyway, that's just my thoughts on black travel this week on the Black Girl Love podcast.
Inside your bedroom, we stopped counting.
Alrighty, so this is the second portion of Black Girl Love podcast. And I was like, what am I going to talk about that fits the girl criteria? And I was looking around, because that's what I do. I look around, scroll on TikTok, IG, all of them, Facebook, because you got to go back to the basics, right? Facebook is the basic, it's the blueprint of it all. And there was a lot to see, be honest. You know, we could talk about positive things, we could talk about negative things. But as a black woman, a black girl, in today's world, there's always something that's going on that's affecting us. And as I was watching this TikTok, because I love TikTok, I ain't gonna even pretend to you, I do love it. It's mindless. And sometimes I like being mindless. And I do learn on there. There's quite a few people who are posting some ingenious, elevated stuff on there. And then in the middle of that, there's some light, lowbrow humor, which appeals to me as well. So all my boxes are getting ticked on the TikTok app. Anyway, this young lady, her mother had died. And 2 weeks after her mother's death, in the midst of her grief, her friends, there were 3 of them, decided to do an intervention and speak to her, because they said she basically wasn't a good friend, and that she had some shortcomings that she needed to address. And this was, again, 2 weeks after her mother's death. And all I could think of was, who needs enemies, honey? Because them friends, in their own way, thought that this was the perfect time. We're not talking about a 12-year-old. We're talking about a full-grown woman. And one of the ladies in particular had been friends with her since elementary school, right? So she had seen her evolve. And for her to choose that time frame, it's just wicked, right? And this is women-on-women crimes, you know? Let's be honest, it's women-on-women crime. And women, I think we do that, right? We surround ourselves with people who we know really aren't our friends. Because for some odd reason, society has said we need friends. We need people around us. We need a circle, right? 2 people make a circle. One person makes a circle if you hug yourself. Let's be honest. Hey, and sometimes you need to travel solo. Not only, you know, into other countries, but through your life. You need to travel solo to see who you are. And to find out who you are and what you want to be next. Because you're always going to be evolving and growing. You should be, rather. You know, you should not be the person you were at 20, at 35, at 55. You should not be the same person you were at 20. There should be some nuance to you, some growth, some depth, right? Some reality. Because at that age you should have experienced quite a few things: heartbreak, happiness, joy, sadness, death, even from a close friend, family member at that age. So for them to come at her like that, I was just like, man, I just do not want friends like that. If you couldn't come to me before my mother died, give me some time. Let me grieve. Let me be an asshole for a little bit longer. If you really think I'm that much of a jerk, let me continue that till I get through my grieving process. That may be a year from now. It may be 2 years from now. But if you don't want to be my friend during that time frame, please exit, right? And I thought, whew, that's some nasty stuff. And then I was looking at this one young lady who was at a bar club, and the young guy she was in a wheelchair, right? And you can Google this, and he, because there's video proof of it, he threw her wheelchair down the stairs because she had been carried down the stairs to use the bathroom because the bathroom was not accessible via her wheelchair, which means that the wheelchair is her legs, and that's how she gets around, that's how she lives her life, right? And to be taken to the bathroom was probably already humiliating enough. You feel me? In a club setting, in a bar setting, you out hanging with your friends, you just want to be part of the crew. And we're talking college age here. And you are getting taken down to the bathroom, and then you come back and your wheelchair is not where you left it. As a matter of fact, it's at the bottom of the stairwell and it's been damaged. How crappy of a person do you have to be to think that made sense? You're a young adult. We're not talking about a toddler. We're talking about someone who's 20, 21, 22, somewhere in that age range, because he's in a bar, he's drinking. So let's say 21. Let's even say 22 if you want to. That's just too old for that, You don't always have to let the intrusive thoughts win. And I don't have intrusive thoughts about someone's wheelchair. That in itself tells me there's something a little bit off about you, right, as a person. What does that say, though, about us as a society, that people were in the comments, and you should never read the comments. I read them because I like seeing society's dregs, because they always pop up in the comment section of anything. And people were defending him because there's charges going to be pressed against him for basically damaging her property, which is her body, her legs. It's an extension of her body, her wheelchair. It's not just like some people were like, it's her car. It's more than her car, you numb nuts. This is how this lady moves through the world. You feel me? Like, why would you take someone's guide dog? Why would you take their stick if they're blind? You know what I'm saying? Why would you take their hearing aids if they're deaf? It's just little weird stuff that we just need to go back home. If home is good, because home ain't always good. It is not always good. And that's going to lead us into the next section of our podcast, Black Girl Love.
Inside your bedroom, we stopped counting the days.
Alrighty, so third section of Black Girl Love, and this one, of course, is aimed toward love. And this is, I think, a continuation of the entire podcast, if this makes any sense to you. And if it doesn't, think about it. So this week, I am loving the idea of cutting folks off. Just slicing them. Not literally, but figuratively. So don't tell nobody I told you to go cut nobody, because that's not what I said. I just said slice them off. Prune them from your life. And it's random. As fuck, right? I get that. Like, I'm like, we were talking about travel and racism, and then this young lady getting thrown down, her wheelchair getting thrown down a flight of stairs, and then I jump into cut people off, because it's a circle. It all goes back. It's time to cut some people, I just feel like there's a few folks in everybody's life that needs to be pruned. That tree, that branch that is you, needs some pruning. There's someone out there who is not treating you right. There's someone out there who doesn't love you right. There's someone out there who doesn't want to do anything that's positive when it comes to you, right? And you know who they are. The funny thing is that they could be related to you by blood. They could have given birth to you, right? They could have been the seed that helped produce you, right? Could be your brother, your sister, your cousin, your best friend from elementary school. It could be the person you met at your first job who you thought, this is going to be the girl, the guy that I'm going to kick it with for the rest of my adult life, right? We're going to go Golden Girls together. Maybe they're not for you. There's nothing wrong with a season with someone, right? And once that season is done, it's time to let it go, right? Whether it was fall, winter, spring, or summer, the season is over. And it's time to move on. It's time to plant new seeds elsewhere. And with other people that want to water them with you appropriately. They want to love on you. They want to be there for the good and the bad. That's what you want in life, right? You must want to love you for you, but also to give you grace. And as we've seen in some of the examples that I've talked about, people are not giving everybody's grace, man. I don't understand what's going on. But this is a call, a sign, a signal if you needed it. If someone is not there for you when you need them, and I'm not saying if you want to see who got an emergency every day, you need help, and it ain't your friends. You need some therapy, and there ain't nothing wrong with therapy, y'all. Get you some therapy. And I need some therapy every now and then. I ain't gonna lie. I tune up my own self, but I think I need more sometimes, and ain't nothing wrong with that. Pay that copay, pay out of pocket, get you 4-5 sessions. And even that a little bit will help you. You know what I'm saying? You ain't got to go every week for a year. But go. A couple times. Sit down, let somebody. You paying them to listen to you. And sometimes that's all you need is a listening ear. Right? And that's a mark of a good friend as well. You know, if someone comes to me and they got a problem, and I'm a Taurus, right? I'm always trying to find a solution. So what I know that about myself. So what I do is I say, do you want a listening ear? Or do you want a solving ear? Because I can be either one, right? But I acknowledge who I am. And my first instinct is to help you solve what I perceive as your problem. But everybody don't need help solving a problem. They just want someone to listen to them. Give them 20 minutes undivided attention where I focus on you and I listen to you. I had a friend who I love, and I miss her because I had to cut her. I did. And the reason why I had to cut her, and I don't think she realized it, was that we spent years of her calling me, and we would be on the phone for a couple of hours, and it was all her problems, her issues, her life history. And mind you, we had been friends for 10, 15 years at this point. So every week, it was a call, or every other week, it was a call. And the calls really consisted of me going, wow, okay. Really, wow, sis, wow. What you gonna do, sis? Same person, sis, Going back and forth, same shit, different day, sis? For years. Literally years. She drained me so much. I dreaded her calls, but I knew she needed them. Unfortunately, she never once really asked me, unless I started out the conversation with, hey, I need you to listen to me forcibly, right? And even then, she would give me maybe 5-10 minutes in that 2-hour call, right? Before we would get back to her problems. And I could only do that for so long before I was just like, I can't do this no more, right? So I just started avoiding her calls. That was my first thing. And I'm not saying that was the most mature way of approaching it, but I didn't want to lose her friendship, but I also didn't want to lose myself. And I felt like I was losing myself in the friendship with her because I was so upset. I felt like I needed a spiritual cleanse after talking to her, right? I needed to sit in some bath water and just take that energy that she had taken from herself and placed on me by giving me a rundown, a litany, if you will, of all of her issues that were the same ones. It was just a repeat. She wasn't doing anything different, and she was content to keep doing this. I wasn't content to keep listening. And I think she said something to me on the wrong day at the wrong time. And I was like, bye. in my head, bye. And that was it. I was done, you know. I was in a relationship at one point, years ago, similar situation. Every day, I would be the person that they dumped everything on from their day. And they had a very stressful job, and I get that, right? But I can't be your therapist, and fuck you too. I just can't, right? And so that's what I became, her therapist. And I felt like there was no need for the sex, because she didn't really want that. She wanted to sit and complain for an hour every day. Whew. And you start looking at people differently, right? I don't know how therapists do it. I could not be a therapist, right? Because I just couldn't take all that energy on me every day. And it's some cruel stuff going on in this world, y'all. And there's a reason for therapists. I mean, we need more. I will never discount the value that they bring to the table. But my goodness, my gosh, I couldn't do it for nothing. I can be it to a friend for a little bit, but I cannot do it every day for an hour in a relationship. Ever, 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 ever. And I love hard, right? But I couldn't do that. I dreaded that phone call, that commuting phone call where everything was trauma dumped on me for the day, right? And I get it. Everybody needs a listening ear. Well, goodness gracious, we got to do better. So with that being said, prune people out your life. Take it, it's the beginning of the year. Why not? It's springtime. Cut them. And if you need to, tell them why. People say they don't like ghosting. I don't have a problem with ghosting. If it's necessary for you, then it's necessary. You can come back years later if you need to and tell them why. But let's be honest, most people know why. There's very few instances, I think, where people don't know why or can't sort of guess why people got ghosted. I mean, there's a few, don't get me wrong. There's always exception to every rule, but primarily people know. They're like, yeah, I was doing this, or I said this, or we were going this direction. And you know who you were talking to, who ghosted you, that person. After somebody you just met last month and they ghosted you, that's not really a ghost. That's just, I'm just not returning your text. That's not a ghost, right? But if someone you've known for 4 or 5 years, 4 or 5 decades, you should know why they're ghosting you. You're not stupid. And if you are stupid, grow up. That's all there is to it. Grow up. And with that being said, that signals the end of this week's podcast, the 4th podcast of Black Girl Love. And I am Cat Williams. I'll see you back here next week. Peace and love, y'all.
Inside your bedroom, we stopped counting the days, lost in the rhythm. Physical silence